Have you ever had a guy pursue you, intensely texting you all the time, making you feel wanted, craving you like you're the only woman on earth, and then suddenly he goes silent? No explanation, no goodbye, just disappears into thin air. You're left staring at your phone, replaying every moment, wondering, did I do something wrong? Was he ever serious? Or worse, was any of it even real? Let me stop you right there. This isn't about you being too much, too needy, or not enough. This silence isn't rejection, it's a reflection. In this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain on what's really going on in a man's mind when he craves you, but goes silent. And the truth? It will absolutely shock you. Because most women have been told to just wait, play it cool, or give him space. But the space you give a man with no emotional maturity is the same space he uses to retreat into confusion, fear, or games. Silence can be a weapon, but it can also be a signal that he's craving something, but it might not be you. This is the part no one teaches you. This is the part that leaves strong, beautiful women questioning their worth. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why he's silent. You'll know exactly what to do about it and how to stand in your power while doing it. Let's get into it. Here's something most women don't realize. A man can crave you deeply and still do absolutely nothing about it. Yes, he can be thinking about you non-stop. He can want your body, your energy, your attention, and still sit there in complete silence. Why? Because craving is not the same as commitment, and it's definitely not the same as courage. You see, when a man craves you, it activates a powerful but temporary emotional high. Think of it like a dopamine spike. He wants to feel you, talk to you, fantasize about you, but that craving is often rooted in what he wants to feel, not what he wants to build. It's about the experience of desire, not the reality of relationship. This is where a lot of women get hurt, because your connection feels real. You feel the intensity, the chemistry is undeniable, and you assume that his craving must mean he's serious. But here's the hard truth. Craving without action is emotional immaturity in disguise. He might crave your energy because it makes him feel alive. He might crave your attention because it feeds his ego. He might crave your presence because it distracts him from his own emptiness. But none of that means he's ready for you. Craving is about him. Action is about you. A man who is emotionally available won't just crave you. He'll show up for you. He'll make space for you. He'll take consistent action that matches his words. The problem is, we confuse craving with love. We confuse intensity with intimacy. And when he pulls away, we blame ourselves when really he was never standing on solid ground to begin with. So next time a man comes in hot, pouring on the attention, promising the world, does listen to his desire. Watch what he does when it's time to act. Because a man's silence after craving isn't a mystery. It's a message. And if you listen closely, it tells you everything you need to know about his emotional capacity. Let that sink in. When a man goes silent, the first thing many women do is panic. You start questioning everything. Is he losing interest? Did I push him away? Should I reach out? But let's pause for a second, because the silence you're experiencing may not mean what you think. It's not always about you. In fact, it's rarely about you at all. Men process emotions differently. When they feel something unfamiliar, especially something vulnerable, they often retreat not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to care in a connected, consistent way. Silence, to many men, is a default setting when they're overwhelmed, uncertain, or feeling emotionally exposed. But here's the twist. Silence doesn't always mean confusion. Sometimes it's calculated. Sometimes it's strategic. And sometimes it's a coping mechanism. Let me explain. When a man starts to catch feelings, he can either lean in and explore those emotions, or he can pull back and try to regain control. If he's not emotionally mature, feelings make him feel vulnerable. And vulnerability to him feels like weakness or danger. So instead of communicating what he's experiencing, instead of saying, I need time, or I'm not ready, or even I'm scared, he simply goes quiet. He waits to see if you'll chase. He watches if you'll hold space for him, or if you'll collapse into insecurity. That silence becomes a test, not always consciously, but behaviorally. He wants to see if you're still there, still waiting, even when he's not giving anything. It's his way of keeping control while avoiding emotional intimacy. Now, here's the real truth most women need to hear. A man who values you won't stay silent. A man who's serious about you will not risk losing you through absence. Because men do know what silence means. And when he chooses it, he's making a statement. That statement might be, I want the benefits of your presence without the responsibility. It might be, I'm scared of my own feelings, so I'll disappear until they pass. Or worse, I'm not as invested as I made it seem. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain. A man's silence speaks louder than his words ever could. It tells you whether he's emotionally available. It tells you how he handles pressure. It tells you how he communicates in conflict, uncertainty, or intimacy. So the next time a man goes quiet, don't chase noise. Tune into what his silence is revealing. Because in that quiet space, you'll hear truth if you're willing to listen to it. Let's be honest, when a man says he just needs space, it sounds reasonable. You want to respect his process, give him time, and show you're not clingy. But here's the truth that no one talks about. Sometimes space is not about needing clarity. It's about avoiding intimacy. There's a huge difference between a man who's taking space to reflect and a man who's using silence to escape emotional accountability. And if you don't learn to spot that difference, you'll keep holding space for someone who's never planning to return. So let's get crystal clear. These are the signs his silence isn't self-care. It's emotional avoidance in disguise. First, look at the pattern. Did he disappear right after things got deep? After a vulnerable moment, a serious conversation, or when you started to expect consistency? If his silence shows up only when connection gets real, he's not protecting peace, he's dodging depth. Second, does his space come with zero communication? A man who cares about you won't vanish without context. He'll say, hey, I need a day or two to reset, or I've got a lot on my mind. But when he just drops off, leaves you confused, and expects you to wait with no clarity, that's not boundaries. That's emotional avoidance. Third, pay attention to how he reappears. When he returns, does he acknowledge the silence, apologize, take responsibility? Or does he just pick up the conversation like nothing happened, expecting access to you without earning it? Because avoidance isn't just about disappearing. It's also about refusing to deal with the impact of that disappearance. Another sign, he shuts down when emotions surface. You bring up how you feel, and he changes the subject. You express a need, and he calls it drama. You ask for clarity, and suddenly he's too stressed to talk. That's not a man protecting his peace. That's a man protecting his distance, because vulnerability feels like pressure, and pressure sends him running. And here's a big one. You feel emotionally unsteady around him. 1 minute he's warm and present, the next he's cold and distant. You find yourself constantly trying to be chill, walking on eggshells, trying not to push too hard. You're not in a relationship, you're managing a man's emotional anxiety. This isn't love. This is survival mode. And survival mode is exactly where emotional avoidance want to keep you, because as long as you're off balance, you won't question their inconsistency. Here's what you need to remember. Real connection doesn't require chasing, decoding, or guessing. A man who wants you, respects you, and values your heart will not play hide and seek when things get serious. He'll communicate. He'll show up. He won't make you feel like expressing your emotions is a risk. So the next time a man says he needs space, don't just listen to the words. Watch the pattern. Look at how he uses that space. And most importantly, ask yourself this. Does his silence bring me peace or anxiety? Because if it's anxiety, that's not space. That's emotional avoidance, wrapped in polite language. You deserve a love that doesn't disappear when things get real. A love that welcomes vulnerability instead of hiding from it. a love that feels safe, not silent, let that guide you forward. There's a moment when his behavior stops making sense. He pulls back, goes quiet, becomes unpredictable, and suddenly you're wondering, is he testing me? Or is he just not that into this? That question can drive you crazy. Because when a man starts acting distant, your mind naturally wants to fill in the blanks. You think maybe he's checking to see if you'll chase him. Maybe he wants to know if you're really interested. Maybe he's trying to see how much space you'll give. And yes, some men do test women. But let's be real. When a man is truly invested, he doesn't need to test you. He already knows your value because he's paying attention. He already knows your intentions because he's communicating. And he doesn't play games with someone he's afraid to lose. So let's break this down. If a man is testing you by going silent, pulling away, or giving you crumbs of attention just to see what you'll do, that's not a test. That's manipulation. That's him trying to maintain control, not connection. And when someone uses silence or distance to provoke a reaction, they're not building a relationship. They're managing your emotional response. Think about how that makes you feel. Anxious, confused, uneasy. And that's exactly the point. Because when you're unsure, when you're off balance, you'll start proving your worth. You'll start trying harder, reaching out more, lowering your standards just to get back to how things used to feel. But here's the truth. Someone who is emotionally invested doesn't want you anxious. They want you secure. They want you to feel safe with them. They want you to trust the consistency of their presence. When a man is not invested, he often hides behind ambiguity. He keeps the connection alive just enough so you don't fully walk away, but not enough to make you feel truly chosen. He gives compliments, but no clarity. Affection, but no commitment. Promises, but no plans. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. Sometimes a man's silence or distance isn't a test at all. It's not strategy. It's just disinterest, dressed up as complexity. Because no man wants to admit, I like the attention, but I don't actually want to invest in you. That sounds selfish. But his behavior says exactly that. And you can feel it. Because even when he comes back around, something's always missing. The consistency, the security, the energy of someone who's truly there, emotionally, mentally, and physically. So the next time you ask yourself, is he testing me? Flip the question. Ask, is this behavior making me feel emotionally secure or emotionally exhausted? Because if it feels like a test, it's probably already too complicated. And healthy love doesn't play games to see how far you'll bend. You are not here to pass someone's test. You are not here to earn love through confusion. You are here to receive love that is clear, consistent, and rooted in mutual respect. Don't waste your energy decoding silence or analyzing inconsistency. If he's truly invested, you'll know, not because he says it, but because he shows it. And if he's not showing up, that's your answer. Don't wait around to be chosen. Choose yourself first. When a man pulls away, it can feel like emotional whiplash. One day, he's fully present, texting, calling, making you feel seen. The next, he's distant, quiet, and suddenly hard to reach. And in that space of silence, your mind starts racing. What did I do? Is he losing interest? Should I reach out or wait? This is the moment where most women lose their grounding. They start chasing clarity instead of protecting their peace. But here's what you need to hear. A man pulling away is not your cue to self-abandon. It's your invitation to return to yourself. Emotional grounding is the ability to stay centered no matter what someone else is doing. It's knowing that his behavior does not define your worth, and it doesn't control your emotional state. So how do you stay grounded when everything in you wants to react? First, pause before you respond. When your emotions spike, your first instinct will be to fix, explain, or reconnect. But grounding starts with stillness.